Hi everyone, welcome back to the Knits and Makes podcast. My name is Libby. This is episode 10. So I'm coming to you today from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Today is September 6th, 2021. It's a Monday. It's a holiday here in Canada. It's Labor Day. So I've had the day off, which has been very nice. It has been an age since I have recorded a podcast, so we'll see how all of this goes. I'm really excited to be doing this again. My last episode, I believe I posted on April 6th this year. That was 5 months ago. Seriously, where has this year gone? But I've been saving up a lot of things that I want to talk to you about today. So I'm hoping that we can get through it. And I'm just excited to be back with you. So just to update everybody, if you're like, gee, it's been a while, what's been going on? I have not been doing a lot of knitting this summer, like zero. We are actually planning our wedding, which is so crazy, and that's gonna be 2 weeks from now, less than 2 weeks from now. Not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, I'm getting married, which is crazy. We're really excited. It's been a long time coming. We, of course, had planned to have our wedding last October, actually, and unfortunately, we had to postpone a year. So, and we've scaled everything back quite a bit. So we're hoping that we can have our friends and family come together and celebrate with us this year. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to that. Looking forward to finally being married and finally being done planning this wedding. Planning wedding is not the most fun in regular times. It's extra not fun in COVID times. So anyways, that's what's been going on with me. And I've had no extra brain space for anything creative, which has been kind of a huge bummer because knitting and crafting and being creative is like a huge part of my life. So it feels like this year has been kind of weird, and I've just been kind of like, I don't know, I don't know how to phrase that, but just like my brain has been all over the place, and processing emotions has been, whatever however you want to put that. Last year for me was a great year mentally, I guess. I know that it affected a lot of people differently. What am I even trying to say? So just being home and being creative came a lot easier to me last year. I was very lucky to be able to work from home when the pandemic kind of started, and I've been working from home ever since, which has been great. I'm really grateful for that. And so last year I was home all the time, nothing better to do than knit constantly. So I cranked out a ton of projects last year, which was awesome, and I loved it. It was super fun. And this year, I think just having something to work towards and having to do a lot of problem solving and troubleshooting and dealing with people and vendors, all of that, it's been fun. So this year's been just totally different. I had no, like I said, extra brain space for anything else. And I'm really hoping that this fall and winter I can maybe get some of my knitting mojo back and get back into being creative, because as you'll see, I am surrounded by yarn right now and I have a lot of projects in mind. I have so many plans, always. I'm sure you guys understand what that's like. There's so many amazing projects out there, so much beautiful yarn available to us. So I've been saving all of this up to share with you. I'm very excited. So yeah, I don't have any projects to share with you today. No whips, no works in progress, no finished objects, but I do have a lot of yarn to share with you. So I do want to just preface this, by saying that I have plans and I'm excited to talk to you about those plans. So let's just dive into it, and we'll start with the first item that I purchased back in like winter. It was in February. If you're familiar with Wild in the Woods, I believe her name is Serena. She is based out of BC, Canada. Wild in the Woods is a beautiful company. She dyes beautiful wool. I believe it's all natural 100% wool. She also puts together these beautiful clubs and boxes, like mystery boxes, and releases them throughout the year. So this one was available back in February, and the theme for this one is practical magic. So if you're familiar with the movie Practical Magic with Sandra Bullock, I love that movie. It is very witchy, spooky. No, I love that movie. So it's not like Halloween-y, cartoony witches. It's like natural witches, in the woods, healing medicine type of thing, which I love. I absolutely love. And Serena is very much about that in her own natural life. She posts a lot about her garden and her dyeing process, which is all very exciting. So I love that. I vibe very much with that. I believe there were possibly more boxes released in the theme of practical magic, but I only purchased the first one. But I'm very, very happy that I did. So I'm going to share with you the yarn first, and then we'll go through the little goodies. So there were two options. I believe there was a worsted option and a fingering weight yarn option, and I went with the fingering weight yarn. And there were two full skeins of yarn in here. So this is the first one. So this is a beautiful, beautiful green color. You can see the wool is very woolly. And these were the tags that she made for the club, which are very cute. So this colorway is called Rosemary. It's beautiful. I love it. Just a gorgeous green, solid, semi-solid kind of tonal. You can see there's some different, like there's some dimension in the color there. It's beautiful. So that's the full skein of yarn, or the first skein of yarn, and then this is the second one. And my jaw like hit the floor when I saw this one. So it is like purples and blues. A little bit of green in there. It's gorgeous. And the colorway is called Lavender, which is perfect. So these were the two skeins together. Super beautiful. Love that. What I think I would love to do with this yarn is make some nice woolly winter accessories, like some mittens, maybe a cowl or something. So I'm very excited to knit with this yarn. I'm going to tuck these back in here. Okay, so there were some other little goodies in here as well. So the first of them, I'll just show you, is this little candle. So, pop this open. Haven't smelled it in a while. Yeah, that's nice. It's pretty strong. It's like it's like floral, soapy, if that makes sense. But they're little like bits. You can see there are some like dried flowers, and there's a crystal in there as well, which is so cute. So I haven't burned it yet, but I think this would be lovely paired with a nice like bubble bath or something, you know? So that's awesome. There are also a little collection of stitch markers in here. So there's 3 of them. So there is a little witch's hat here, a little crescent moon, and then this little this is like a little jar of dried, it is dried lavender and rosemary, which is right on theme. Super cute. I love these little jars. They're so teeny and cute. So I love these. I can't wait to add them to my projects. Also included in here were these beautiful little earrings. So these were, she partnered with a company also based out of BC in Victoria called Big, Bold and Gold, and they're little clay earrings, little crescent moons, and they're like black clay with like gold flecks in them. So unfortunately I can't wear these. I have this very random fact about me, but I am allergic to most metals. Just super weird. So typically I can only wear gold. Like the necklace I'm wearing today is actually sterling silver, and I can really only wear that for like a couple hours before it starts to irritate me. So there's a random fact for you. So I'll have to maybe give those to, re-gift them to a friend or something like that. But they're beautiful. I wish I could wear them, you know, c'est la vie. And the final little item in this box is this cute little pouch. So it's like a little zipper pouch, and it has a little gold tassel here, and this is the little like motif on there. So if you're familiar with the movie, you have maybe seen this before. But there's a quote. So there's a quote in the movie, and it goes, "But there is one thing I know for certain. Always throw spilt salt over your left shoulder. Keep rosemary by your garden gate. Plant lavender for luck. And fall in love whenever you can." So Sally Owens says that in the movie. That's the character played by Sandra Bullock. So that is the salt, rosemary, lavender, and love, which is super cute. So this is it's nice, feels like it's like a canvasy material. So that's a nice little bag, and I can't wait to use that. So that is my little Practical Magic box. Came in this like little kit. It's very, very cute. It was super lovely to unbox. If you ever have the opportunity to purchase a little box set or club collection from Serena of Wild in the Woods, I highly recommend, because she is just exceptional at putting together those curated packages. It's very fun to participate in. So that was my first like early purchase. I think I said I pre-ordered it in February, and it actually arrived in May, just after my birthday, which was really lovely timing. So this next little bit of yarn was also a pre-order. Actually, I pre-ordered it in March, and where do I even start? Okay, so I got a little bit of yarn from the beautiful Amalia of Kindred Red, if you're familiar. She is based out, I don't know what state she's in. She's in the States though. I don't typically actually buy a ton of yarn from the States, just because of, you know, the exchange is, you know, the Canadian dollars, whatever. It's not great in comparison to the US. So this was like a deluxe treat. I do love Amalia's yarn. I've never been able to indulge, and when she had this pre-order, I was like, now's the time, now's the time. So without further ado, this is the first little like collection of yarn that I got. So these are all DK weight, and if you're familiar with Kindred Red, Amalia puts together these, she just has a beautiful color sense. She loves the vibrant colors and very much leans often towards reds and pinks together, which personally is not a color combination that I normally would gravitate towards or would even, you know, imagine to dream up of on my own accord. But I just love how these all look together. It's so beautiful. So she has a bunch of other colors. There are a lot of shades that are very similar, same but different. So I had a very hard time deciding on which 3 colors to go with. But in the end I landed on these. So I'll show you. So this first one is called Floromelon. It is very, I don't know if the neon is going to be too bright for the camera, but beautiful color. Floromelon, fluorescent melon. I could see that for sure. This next one is Clementine. So it's a little darker. Very bright, beautiful color. And then the final one that I got is called Zeolite. I'm not familiar with that. Pretty pink. I don't know if that's a thing. It kind of sounds like a stone, like a gemstone of some kind. I don't know. I'm making that up completely. But yeah, so I love how these all paired together. I think they're really fun. I do have a project in mind for this yarn. If any of you follow Hannah Singleton on Instagram, is where I find her, but she has a pattern for a t-shirt called the Stripey V tee, which is very much what it is named for. It is a stripy V-neck t-shirt in a DK weight. So I think that these will be really fun. I don't have a visual to show you, but I highly recommend looking it up. It's a very cute pattern, a little bit cropped, short sleeves, V-neck. I don't know if in the pattern she has like a recommended strategy for the stripes, because it is very like mismatched. It's not repeating. It's not like 1, 2, 3, repeat, 1, 2, 3. So I don't know if she has a recommendation for how to do that, but I do think that these would be really fun, all striped together. A little bit different. I can already imagine styling this tee with like some jeans or whatever. So I'm very excited about this yarn. Beautiful colors. Very glad I was able to get some of that. So the next little bit of yarn that I got from Kindred Red is this. I don't know how I'm going to be able to hold all these up. It's a collection of minis. So here they are. They're like a bright rainbow collection. Like, how fun is that? Yeah. So these are all 25-gram mini skeins, and they are a single ply light worsted. So I think that's really fun. I didn't actually realize that they were a single ply until I took them out of the bag. But they're really cute, really fun. These colors, just like all of them individually are beautiful, obviously, but like all together, it's like, it's just the perfect, beautiful, bright rainbow. So these are actually for a very, like a specific project. I know that, I mean, you could use them for whatever, but if you have, I believe I talked about this in the spring actually, the Pom Pom Quarterly from spring 2021. This is a beautiful book. This is probably one of my favorite Pom Pom editions ever. It's called Block Party, the quilt inspired issue. And it's a beautiful collection of works. And actually Amalia has a pattern. She's also a pattern writer, which is incredible. So she has a pattern in this collection with it's called the Crux cardigan, or just Crux. So this is what it looks like. Look at that. So it has these like grid. It's like crossing vertical and horizontal lines throughout the cardigan. The construction is like mind-boggling. It's very clever. I've read through the pattern a little bit, and I think it's just stunning. So this is the exact yarn. So you can see I'm hoping you can see the colors here. Like, these bright colors are the crosses that are throughout the pattern. And for this design, she used like a beige, like a nice natural or neutral color. But I think I would really like to do like a black or like a very dark gray. But I think that would be really, like, be very bold, but I think it would be stunning. Like these, like you could see it like with the black, my shirt, and these, like, how cool would that be? So that's my vision. I love like that length of cardigan is perfect. Like the long sleeve kind of just like hits at the waist, you know? I could see me wearing that a lot, and it's just beautiful. So I got the accent yarn to go with it from her, which feels really special for that pattern specifically. And then like I can just get a regular, I don't even know, knit picks or something, like commercial yarn instead of indie dyed. So that's my vision for that yarn. So that's all the yarn that I got from Kindred Red. I pre-ordered that, I think I said back in March, and it arrived to me in June, which was great. I don't mind that at all. She, like, throughout the whole process, she sent a couple emails that were like, I'm so sorry for anybody who hasn't received theirs yet. I'm working my butt off and trying really hard. And I'm so grateful to these artists to put their work together like this. Like, this is a ton of work, and a pre-order like that is crazy. Because she also does like fairly limited releases, so I think her yarn is like fairly coveted. So doing a pre-order like that, I know that it was just a huge volume of yarn that she required to dye for the release. So, and I was like, no problem, whenever it gets here, it gets here. Like, I'm in no rush. But I feel for dyers who are, you know, like a one-person operation. They do it all, you know? And for anybody to be critical of that and to, I don't know, give them a hard time about making a deadline or getting things out quickly, like, I just think, like, be cool, be calm. It'll get to you, you know, eventually, and then you can love it and knit with it, and it'll be great. But I don't think there's any, I get the impression that some people were being a little bit rude or difficult or upset that the timeline was longer than anticipated. Also, again, it was in the midst of COVID. I think we were in another outbreak at that time, so like the mail was delayed. Like, people, you know, relax, it's coming, just be patient. So all that to say, that was from my Kindred Red purchase back in the spring. So the next little bit of yarn that I'm going to show you is from Starbath Dyes. You've seen beautiful yarn from them before. So Mina from Starbath Dyes had a few releases this summer that I participated in. I made 2 separate purchases, and I'm excited to share those with you. So they had one release back in June, I believe it was early June, and that was for Gemini season. So as a Gemini, I absolutely had to participate in that. Firstly, I love everything Mina does, so that's very, you know, easy for me regardless. But they put together another beautiful collection, so let me just show you. So this one, first off, look at their beautiful logo. This yarn is called Gemini Season. So, you know I had to. Look at this. It's just like gorgeous pink with a little bit of green in there. Like down here you can see, like back in here, like, hello, this is beautiful. This is on their soft fingering base, which is 100% untreated merino. You can tell it's got a beautiful twist, like it has like a 2-ply twist. to it. The yarn is really lovely and, as suggested, very soft. It's just lovely. I only purchased one skein of this, and I do not have a plan for it yet, which maybe isn't a great strategy, but I had to get some of this, so I will find the perfect project for it, or hopefully work it into, I don't know, maybe some color work or something lovely, because this yarn should just be, you know, savored. It's beautiful. At the same time, during the Gemini release, I also purchased, I don't know if you can hear that, that was a plane going overhead. I live pretty close to the airport, but that's okay. This is the other yarn that I got. So I got 3 skeins of their colorway called the Star, and it's on their silk linen decay base. So check that out. Like that texture, it's just, it's so nice. I'm very excited to knit with this. I think it's gonna make like a really lovely, like summery piece, like just light feeling, you know, not that with the heat of wool, just something different. I don't work with a lot of, you know, non-wool yarn, so it's really exciting for me. I was very excited to nab 3 skeins of this, and I have a project in mind for this yarn, which I'm very excited about. Yes, the Easy Teasy, if you've heard of it. It is by Allison Cribbs. I'm sorry, I actually wrote down a few notes on this yarn, or this pattern, because I'm really excited about it. Again, I don't have any photos to show you, but so this yarn, beautiful yellow. The Easy Teasy pattern is a t-shirt, but it has like this beautiful like eyelet design throughout the whole top. Again, the designer is Allison Cribbs, and the pattern is totally size inclusive. It has quite a bit of ease, actually, I think, and I got enough yarn for my size, which I'm excited about. And I want to say that Mina actually was knitting a Easy Teasy using this, like using the Star on this base, I think. So total copycat, Mina, sorry, not sorry, because that is a beautiful pattern, and this is beautiful yarn and absolutely perfect for that. So that's what my plan is for this, and again, I'm like already looking forward to wearing that garment, and very excited to knit with this yarn, and just like once it's like washed and feel how drapey and comfy it is, I'm already excited. So that is the beautiful yarn that I got from that release. And I actually also got a little stitch marker at the same time. Look at this. It's a little like glass mushroom. So Zoe, Mina's partner, made this little stitch marker. It was a big mushroom and a small one. I had to get the big one, of course. It's so cute, and absolutely perfect. I am like a little bit of a freak for mushrooms, if you know me. So if you don't, there's another fun fact for you. Learning lots about me today. So when I saw that, I was just like, give me that. So cute. So that was the purchase that I made from Star Bath Dyes back in June. Did I say? Yes, for Gemini season, which was very exciting. And then again recently in August for Leo season, Mina had another release. So I did not purchase the like Leo yarn, but I did purchase this yarn. This color is just awesome. So this colorway is called So Hot. I mean, you know. and it is on their silk linen fingering base. So let me just show you that again because, hi, hello, how gorgeous is that? So I got 2 skeins of that, and I was actually thinking that I would like to knit another BFF tee by Kate Oates Design. I'm hoping that I showed you that in a previous episode. I test knit that pattern for Kate. When was that? March, I think? And I really enjoyed that pattern. I really enjoyed that pattern, and I really enjoyed the finished product with that. And I think this yarn would be just perfect for another one. The last one that I knit was in like a dark gray color, so this would add great variety to my wardrobe. And again, being the like silk linen base, I think it'll just drape and be really nice and light and very, very nice to wear. So I have 2 skeins of that, and then during that release I also purchased a couple more stitch markers from Zoe. Look at these, hang on. So these are their little, they're like little hot peppers. Like, they're so cute. They're also glass, and I got one with a lobster claw and then one with like a loop just for like a, oh gosh, why am I totally blanking? Stitch marker, progress keeper. Yeah. So the solid, like the fastener, I don't know if that's showing, so it's like a ring. So the solid fastener is for marking your stitches and, you know, making your way through a round. But the lobster clasp, if you're not familiar, so that's like a little lobster clasp. So this allows you to like clip onto your knitting project. So that the lobster clasp is typically called a progress keeper. So you can take it on and off of your knitting project as needed to indicate how much, literally how much progress you've made on your project since you started knitting. So I use that quite a bit as just to see, you know, like I'll add it to my project when I start like a knitting session, and then I can see, oh, I've knit, you know, 1 inch today while I've been knitting, and then the next time that I pick up my knitting, I'll move the progress keeper again to where I'm working, and then see how far that I get that session, if that makes sense. So I got one of each, which I was very excited about. I believe that these little like chili peppers were in, you know, collaboration with the So Hot colorway, so naturally I had to get them both. It was very exciting for me. So that was my little purchase from August. That is all that I've purchased from Starbath Dyes. I highly recommend you check them out. They dye beautiful yarn, naturally dyed, which just blows my mind. The colors that Mina is able to create with natural materials is just unreal. So they dye very beautiful yarn. Highly recommend checking them out. Okay, so the next we're getting through it. It's all very exciting. Again, please don't judge me. I'm very excited about all of this yarn and the projects that I have planned for them. I'm hoping that I can, you know, this will get me through the winter, maybe, hopefully. Okay, so the next little bit of yarn that I got, let me grab it here, add it to my collection in front of me. So this yarn is all from, you know, Full Moon Fibers. So Allison and Jessica dye some beautiful yarn, as you're aware. They are based out of Barrie, Ontario, Canada. So they have been coming up with just some really awesome, like, I just can never believe the creativity of those girls. What they come up with all the time. They always have new ideas. The colorways they create are incredible. which is, you know, terrible for me because what am I supposed to do? Not buy their beautiful yarn? I don't think so. Okay, so I have a few different things that I purchased from them back in, let me see. Oops, dropped something already. That was July. So in July, I purchased a few things from Full Moon Fibers, which I'm very excited to share with you. I really don't even know where to start, but I'll start here. So this is a set of two 50-gram skeins of fingering weight yarn. So I'm going to take these off of the ball band off. This set is called Vacation, and these are their Lucky 50/50 sock sets, which are really fun. They're dyed on the Solar Sock base, which is a 3-ply. Anyways, very exciting. So each of these skeins is 50 grams. These colorways are just like, how fun. How fun are they? I picked these specifically because I'm certain that this yarn will microstripe, if I know anything about yarn, which is not a ton. Because you can see that this yarn is like half orange, half purple. So half and half usually means that when you're knitting it, I don't know if I'll be able to reskein this, usually when you're knitting it, especially for socks, very specifically, my intention is to knit socks with these. So when you're knitting socks with these, oh God, oh God. Oh, okay, not bad. Not great, but not bad. Don't look at the end. That's not too bad. Not too bad. Don't look at this end. Just look at this end. So yeah, this yarn, specifically when you're knitting socks, which is what my intention is with this, when you have a small diameter and you're knitting in the round, it will create what's called micro stripes, which is, it's essentially stripes and they're small. So it'll go like one row will be purple, the next row will be orange. And that's not like guaranteed 100% throughout, but usually in most places that will happen, which I think will be really cool with these colors. Like, these colors are very fun. And then this skein as well, like, will also be really fun, I think. So this should be the same thing if I unskein it. So yeah, it's like half pink, half green. Very fun. Oh my God, I don't know how these dyers, sorry, this is ridiculous. I don't know how these dyers do this, like, over and over and over. I can't even, yeah, well, just watch me struggle. Nope. But that's awesome. Glad you got to see that. Perfect. Yeah, I don't know how these designers or dyers do this over and over again, because don't hire me to skein your yarn. Yikes. Those colors are super fun. I love being able to get 50 grams of yarn, because 50 grams is kind of the perfect amount for a pair of socks. I'm pretty sure that most, like an average sock size, you could get like a bit of a leg, like maybe not a super long leg, but you can get a bit of a leg and a full foot times 2 for 2 socks out of a 50-gram skein of yarn. I like knitting ankle socks, so I know for certain I'll be able to get a pair of ankle socks out of a 50-gram skein. And it's really nice because a lot of the times if I'm using a 100-gram skein of yarn, then I'm left with half of a skein after I've made my socks. So I can make another pair, or I have 50 grams of yarn left over. So I love when there is an option to buy a 50-gram skein of yarn for socks specifically. So that was exciting. They had a lot of color options. That's the hardest part for me, is like deciding on what color to get. That's what I landed on. I really like those colors. I thought they'd be fun, and I'm hoping that they will microstripe, and maybe I can share that with you in the future so we can enjoy that together. So the next thing that I got from them is this. So this is a sock tube set. So, sorry, they're called Groovy Moon sock tubes by Full Moon Fibers. These are very cool. So Allison and Jessica have a sock knitting machine, which, if you're not familiar, is a machine that knits socks. It's like, I don't even know how to explain it if you haven't seen one. It knits around in a circle and it creates a tube and it has a crank on it. So you like, all you do is just crank it and then a tube of knit yarn comes out. So there is a way, I know that you can knit a full sock on these machines, which is crazy to me because there's the toe of a sock and there's the heel. Like turning the heel of a sock is hard enough when you're knitting by hand. I have no clue how you would do that with a machine. But kudos to anybody who is able to do that. So sock knitting machines are very cool. And I think it's awesome that they have one. So what they actually started doing was cranking these tubes. I believe they cranked them first. Actually, I know this. They crank the tube first on bare yarn, and then they take those tubes. It's so funny to say. They take those tubes and then they dye them. So it's like sock blank, but it's pre-knit. So anyways, all that rambling. The color that I purchased was called Imposter. And this is what it looks like. This is the whole tube. So like, is that not so cool? So you can see here that they have added a little bit of an end, so you can like rip that out, and then when you rip that out, these stitches at the end here would be live, so you can knit on them. So the intention, like this just looks like nothing, it's just a tube. Like, this is so cool. Anyways, so this looks like nothing, it's just a tube, but the intention is you would cut it in half, essentially. This is 50 grams. This is a 50-gram tube. So this would get me one pair of socks. So what you do is you cut it in half, you've live stitches on this end, you add a toe somewhere in here, whatever length fits your foot, you cut in again, but only halfway, and you add a heel, and then you take the live stitches at the end and you make a cuff that's appropriate. So like, just how cool. Like the colors, I love the colors of this one. Again, they had a ton of really cool options and it was very hard to decide on what to do, what to choose, but this is what I went with. I'm sorry, I'm just like looking at the cool like bits of color, like look how cool that is, man. And it looks like they've dyed it in a way that like the socks will be, sorry, this is crazy. I'm just trying to visualize, like if I cut it in half, which would be here, then my two socks would look similar, like kind of similar, but different, like same, but different. Anyways, this is really cool. I'm really excited to do this. So this is like a sock that's 90% done. You just need to add your toes, heels, and cuffs. And they provided me with some yarn to do that with. So these two colors to go with. Like, how cute. I believe this color is called Peony. I'm not certain what that color is. It doesn't say. I don't know if it's like a one-off colorway or a regular one. Sorry, girls. But anyways, this is my Groovy Moon sock tube set. So this is the 50-gram set. They do also have 100 grams. I think they have like just tubes. You don't get the mini skeins if you don't want them, but then they have options with the mini skeins, which I really liked. I liked the 50-gram option, so that like that's one pair of socks. That's great for me. they just had tons of options, which I really appreciated, because I like to see all my options before making a decision. Anyway, okay, we're getting there. So the last thing that I purchased from Full Moon Fibers in July, yes, July, was these sock blanks. So the girls started dyeing sock blanks, which are very cool. I don't know. Okay, so I got 2 of them. Check these out. Okay, so they're pretty different, the 2 that I got, which I'm pleased with. This colorway is called Once in a Blue Moon. It's just it's not a regular colorway that they do. That's what they call Once in a Blue Moon. And then this other one is called Sunny Waters. So I believe that is inspired by their like kayaking. So I'm gonna take the ball band off and like open this up for you because that's the best part. So this is what this looks like. So very similar. It's very similar to the idea of the sock tube, except this is just a flat piece of yarn, like piece of knit fabric. So you can see on the back side, it's pearls. This is the wrong side of knitting, and then this is the right side, so the knit side. Like this color, these colors are so fun. They're awesome. I'm so happy with this. So the intention with a sock blank is that you can see at the end there are these live stitches. They're just like chilling at the end there. So the intention with the sock blank is that you would like there's a loose thread here. You would pull a loose thread and actually knit from this. So you're essentially unraveling this and then knitting your new object. It like breaks my heart to imagine unraveling this, but also I can't wear this. I mean, I guess I could like a scarf. It's really pretty. It's like a work of art. Like I could frame this and hang this up on the wall. That would also be great. But these colors are really gorgeous. I think that they would knit up into something really beautiful as well. But you have like no way of knowing how this is going to knit up. It's going to be random, and it's not going to be the same like pooled, dyed image that is kind of happening here. It's much more random. So, but how fun, you know, like what a fun process. So that is, ooh, what did I just say? Sunny Waters. And let me show you the Once in a Blue Moon color. So this one's pretty crazy and I love it. Check this out. Look at that. Like, this is really cool. So it's like pink, like they had like a kind of a pinky orangey base, and then layered some like teal-y green on top. And again, it's like just a piece of fabric. So this is the right side of the knitting, and then the wrong side, you can see it's different. So super cool. Again, this one, like I could not predict how this would knit up and how these colors would like be deconstructed. Look at that, there's like purple and yellow. Oh my god, it's so pretty. Yeah, I just really just want to like hang this up on the wall and admire it forever. But that's not what I'm gonna do. For both of these, what I would like to do, so the amount of yarn here is 100 grams. What I would really like to do is probably knit like a tank, like a simple tank or something like that. So Jessie May Martinson, Jessie May Designs, who you should be familiar with, she has a lot of lovely tank, knit tank designs. Some of them are DK, some of them are fingering. This yarn is fingering weight, so that's what I would be knitting. I actually have her Sew Summer tank pattern, which I have not knit yet, and I really would like to. So it's just a simple stockinette pattern, like very plain and basic, but it has a higher neck on it. Yeah, she has some designs that have like a V-neck, some have a lower neckline, but this one has like a higher neckline, which I really like the idea of. So that is one that I would like to do. And then she recently came out with a new pattern called the As Friends tank, and that pattern was designed in collaboration with James N. Watts, and he actually released like a lace style t-shirt at the same time, which would also be very fun to knit. I don't know the details of that pattern quite as well, but the As Friends tank is actually a sport weight, technically a sport weight pattern. And sport weight, if you don't know, is a little heavier than fingering. So typically there's fingering and DK. DK is usually like double the thickness of fingering weight, but sport is in between. So it's less common, but depending on the size of the needle that you use, I'm hoping that I could get the gauge for the pattern with the right size needle using fingering weight yarn. That's my thought anyways. So I don't know yet. I'll have to play around with some of that, but I do have a couple of her patterns, so I think that would be really fun. So both of these sock blanks I'm very excited to knit with. Like, just such a cool idea and just beautifully dyed. So I'm super thrilled with that purchase, and I'm certain that they still have more available in their shop of the sock blanks and the sock tubes if you're interested. So I would highly recommend checking those out if you would like. So that's the end of what I got from Full Moon Fibers. I'm very thrilled with my purchase, and as always, I just love the yarn that the girls dye. Allison and Jessica are both very clever, very creative, and I just love everything they put together. So that's what I got, and those are my plans. So the final bit of yarn that I got that I want to share with you guys is kind of fun, and I thought that we could do this together. So this is yarn, and it's been vacuum sealed. So it's like, you know, paper thin. It came by letter mail. This is a way of shipping yarn that is more affordable, because shipping in Canada is very expensive typically, especially if it's like, I don't know, it's usually more worth your while if you're buying a large quantity of whatever it is, wherever it's coming from. But for smaller purchases, the price is still, it can be considerable. So anyways, one way of cutting down on costs of shipping, I've seen some yarn indie dyers offer letter mail shipping and vacuum sealing their yarn. So this yarn, there are 2 skeins in here, and this yarn is from the Wool Baron, and that is Louise, I believe, and she is based out of Alberta, Canada. And yeah, so this is sock yarn, and it's in this vacuum seal package. So there is a little tear tab here. Let's just let some air into here. So you can already see it's like puffing up a bit. Like, there's the yarn in there. Hilarious. So yeah, you just basically let the air back in, and then they come back to life. So that would just be fun to show you guys. So I'll give it a squeeze, you know, let a little air flow through there. I purchased these in August, so they didn't have to wait too long smushed, but I thought it would be fun to show you guys that process. And if you haven't received any vacuum packed yarn before, it's fun. Okay, so now they're still a little flat, but they're puffed up. These are the 2 colors I got. And because like most skeins of yarn you receive with ball band, She did send the ball bands separately, which I think is really cute. So there are 2 of them in here. They look like this. That is their logo graphic. So that includes the their website and yeah, the design. So here we go. So this is the information about the yarn. Okay, so the 2 colors that I got are called the Ugly Sweater Party and Punky, like funky, but with a P. Punky. And they're both on the Sturdy Sock base, which is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And these are both 50-gram skeins of yarn. So that's the information about them. Okay, so this first one is the Ugly Sweater Party. So that's what that looks like. There are a lot of colors happening in here, if you cannot tell. Oh, focus, there we go. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So this yarn is self-striping yarn, but this colorway in particular, I believe what's unique about it is that it doesn't repeat. So typically with self-striping yarn, it's like 4 colors and then they repeat the same 4, like A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. But with this colorway in particular, there's no repeats. I don't even know if there might be color repeats. Anyways, I don't know enough to confidently say that. But this is for like a holiday type of design, and all of the colors are different and they don't repeat over and over again. So I think that's really cool, really unique. I've seen that done before and I thought that would be really fun. I liked that, so I snagged one of those skeins. And then this other color is Punky. Punky. So fun. I like the like neon, like the bright green and the pinks in that with the black and the blue. Like I thought that was like a really fun combo. So this colorway does repeat. I don't know what the order is, but it would be like green, pink, blue, black, green, pink, blue, black, you know, over and over again. So very happy with these, super excited to knit with them. Again, I got 2 50-gram skeins, so they'll make 2 little shorty socks, 2 pairs of shorty socks for me. And I shouldn't have too much yarn left over, which is awesome. Okay. Okay, so that's it. That was really fun. I have been saving all of that yarn up to share with you guys, so I'm so thrilled that I was able to put this episode together. It's like later in the day than I normally film, so I was worried that I would maybe run out of light, but I think I maybe got away with it, hopefully. I've really been meaning to film, sit down and talk with you, and it's been so long, and I've been kind of out of the groove and not participating in the community so much this summer, which like hurts my heart because I love the knitting community and I love seeing what everyone's creating and dyeing, and it's so fun. And it is kind of a bummer when like you don't have the motivation to participate. But I understand, like I know everybody like deals with their own stuff, so I just had to allow myself to feel that way, and I'm not mad that I was doing that, I just needed some time away and to deal with the other stuff that I have going on, which is also exciting. And I'm looking forward to everything, and just hoping that in the fall, in the winter, hopefully my knitting mojo comes back a little and I can find some time to dive into some of these projects. I have some, whips that have been sitting stagnant for like 5+ months that I would really, really like to pick up again. And I also have 2 commissions that I still need to get done, which I would very much like to have finished and to share with people that have put their trust in me to complete a knit project for them. So those are my goals for the next kind of season moving forward. Finish some things that I need to get finished, and then move on and get started with some exciting new projects with this beautiful yarn that I have collected over the summer. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave you with that today. I am so grateful for everyone who stuck around and maybe came back. Sorry it's been so long. I hope that that episode 11, hopefully next episode, it doesn't take 5 months to come out. Once again, thank you so much for being here. I'm grateful to all of you, and I would love to hear what you have planned. Did you have any, I don't know, feelings of just no motivation this summer? Sometimes I find in the summer that it's just not the time for knitting. We're doing other things. We're swimming. Maybe we're crocheting instead of knitting. If you're into that, I would love to hear what you guys have been doing, how you've been feeling. Are you excited for fall, winter, cozy vibes, lots of yarn, settling in? Tell me about that. So thank you so much. I love all of you, and bye.